happy to be here. After listening to Steve this morning and the other speakers, I thought at first I would tell you that I am from Bellingham, Washington, which is in the northwest part of the United States. And, excuse me, our native community is called the Lummi, and that one of the problems that they are facing currently is that while the northwest part of America has always had a great amount of salmon fisheries, our salmon are not returning, and the Lummi are facing a huge change in their spiritual life because they have always used the salmon as part of their spiritual life and the cedar tree, and our cedar trees have been decimated also. So the native people in the Northwest are suffering from the loss of salmon and the loss of our cedar trees. In addition, I thought I'd give you some information about our environment, which is, I think, relevant. My daughter is a biologist, and I belong to Bat Conservation International. And most of you may not know a lot about bats. Most people aren't too interested in the bats. However, one of the sad and unfortunate things that are happening to bats is that they have a new disease, which is called white nose syndrome. And the bats starting from the East Coast, about a third of the bats have died off due to white nose syndrome. And this seems to be caused, it's kind of a bat AIDS disease, because it's what happens when the bats are examined after their death is that they are dying from every disease known to bats, which is kind of like what happens when people have AIDS, is that their immune system is attacked. And they think that this is happening because of the use of pesticides. So our bats are in trouble. So if you can think about the bats, also think about the bees, because our bees are also in trouble. So I think there's a huge problem with the collapse of our ecosystem if things aren't done in a more timely manner. So with those that's an unfortunate way to start my speech. But I wasn't thinking about these things as part of my speech until I heard Steve speak this morning, and I thought, I know about these are very important to me, I should share them with this group. I also want to share with you that I just recently returned from Ghana. I went to Cameron's conference in Oxford, England, and left there and went to Ghana, Africa, to help with an NGO that is running a program to educate secondary students, because in Ghana, only primary school is available to all the children, and after primary school, there's no education available unless they can afford to be sent. And of course, there's a huge amount of poverty in Ghana, and so there's only a small amount of children that actually get to have a secondary education. So this NGO is raising money through donations to educate children in Cape Coast, West Africa. So I had the opportunity to go there and spend some time, meet some of the children, meet the program, work with them, go to several villages, and it was a very emotional and moving experience because these students are very excited about their education. Every one of them that I met was very, very, very excited about what they were doing and very happy to be getting an education and very involved in the world. And so I told them about these conferences that we're doing. And I'd like you to know that they were so excited that we were having these conferences and what the content of the conferences is. And it really raised their hope levels. So there's a lot of responsibility on our shoulders to help something happen in the world that changes some of these situations where people are actually starving because there's not enough food available. And the food is available in the world. There is enough food to feed everyone if we could distribute it instead of I have to tell you this too. When I walked through the airport in London, there are signs for the bank, the HBSC, I think it is. And I wanted to cry because as I walked through, the bank has a picture of an ear of corn with a little sweater on it. And it said, in the future, cotton will compete with corn. Cotton will compete with corn. And I wanted to cry because what that means is they're going to invest in futures in corn, in food, which means the price of food goes up, which means less food is available for the very poor. And it's those billions of poor that we're concerned about. Okay, I need a little water if I can get a little. I don't want to waste any of my minutes. Okay, now I'll get to the hope part, all right? What I want to speak about today, which I'm sure most of you in this room are familiar with, which is oneness. Because I think oneness, if we think of everyone on an equal level, if we think of everyone as being like us, that we're all on the same level, we can't do the things that we're doing. We just can't, because when you think about that, we have to make it work so that everybody is happy. Everybody has the same, or at least the opportunity that they can engage in, that they can't be shut out from opportunity. I believe that as the consciousness of the world grows, as people understand the concept of oneness, that they won't be able to make these kind of policies that are so harmful to the world. I like to look at it because my background is in psychology and behavioral science, I like to look at it as the inner world and the outer world. And the inner world of each human being has a certain unity in itself. When there is the unity within a person, they function well. And psychologically, when there's disunity within a person, they have mental problems. And a lot of times when you're a psychologist, you look for the balance in the person. You try to help them get back to a balance. If it's completely out of whack, they can become schizophrenic. You know, they can have a lot of very serious problems. But if balance can be established by medication or other ways, they can reach an equilibrium and get back to health. And the same is true for the external world. Our world has a oneness to it that includes the universe. The ecosystem that gave birth to humanity is very important to that humanity. And if we try and keep that oneness of the entire universe, of the ecosystem, we can achieve the oneness for the whole world. I'm almost out of time. Okay. I wanted to mention that Baruch Spinoza taught that everything in the universe is one reality or one substance. This was 400 years ago. For that, he was persecuted. So, you know, it's always been a difficult thing to teach oneness. Compassionate justice is impossible in a world that's dominated by ruthless and greedy people. So much I wanted to say. I'm so sorry. The greed and selfishness, the lies and the theft are crimes that are being committed against the majority of people populating the earth. It's representative of the immaturity of our society. Our societies lack the laws and the standards that protect common people. And I think this is very important, is getting those laws back in place, getting some new ones in place that actually protect the majority of people. Because the disproportionate gains that people are making from these kind of investments, like in corn, which the money they make from that is an emblem of success to them, and it should not be. It shouldn't be that people have to suffer because of that kind of standard. The implications for unity are great and varied. Not only does the human race need to recognize the oneness of mankind, but the oneness of all creation and the implications of how that oneness affects everything we do. All people are one people, the family of man. Anything that happens to one affects all. Once enlightened people begin to grasp the meaning of true oneness, the oneness of God, the oneness of religion, the oneness of humankind, the oneness of the universe, then we can have the thoughtful consultation and dialogue that can be devoted to the common good and responsibly practiced. It is through the clash of ideas that it becomes dialogue, and through dialogue, the conflict and truth can be discovered. Truth comes out of conflict, and we can't be afraid to have the conflict because we need to get to the truth and to help people understand the oneness. I'd like to finish with a quote from the founder of the Baha'i Faith, Baha'u'llah. "So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth." Thank you.
Thank you very much.